Tebo.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah.
Perfect.
There we go.
There you go. How you doing, big guy?
Pretty good. We're going to take this piece of shit.
Oh, yes!
Oh, there it
We
is.
love it.
All right. Well, welcome to another edition of Bush Banter, episode 6. Bringing you the livest and hottest IBL information, coast to coast, worldwide, millions of people worldwide, coming here to show you a little bit more about the IBL. We do have a special guest here, but I'll start with the introductions of Team Bush. We're down one today, but Elliot, are you here?
I am here. Oh, no.
Ray,
Powerful beer opener.
Ray, are you
Technical
here?
difficulties. I'm here. Hello.
Perfect.
Cheers.
And then, of course, we have a special guest here. This guy, he's a legend of the IBL. Big fan of the Bush, I hope. 3-time All-Star, 2-time champ, actually. The last 2 champions of Guelph in 2003, 2004. Manager of the Year in 2012. And also a Lionel Boom Award winner in the CIS back in 2001.
Oh,
with
yeah.
the Durham College Lords. My man, Mr. Coach Tebo, a.k.a. Dave Tebocourse. Don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. How are you, sir?
Oh, fantastic, fellas. Thanks for the invite.
Yes.
Cheers.
Yes.
Cheers.
And, of course, I am G. Hill, and I will crack. Going Caesars today, boys. Going off the beers. So
I like it.
welcome to the Bush. So Tebo, again, great. Thanks for joining us here. This has been a long-awaited session for the Bushmen here. But we thought we'd sort of dive into a little bit of your background. So why don't you let us know, where you're from and kind of how you first started playing baseball as a youth.
Yeah, sure. So my uncle played for the Royals back like early 80s, like 83, 84, something like that. And my parents just moved to Guelph. So naturally, that's kind of how I fell in love with the game. I was like 4 years old. And then from there, just started playing. I played rep pretty much as soon as I started playing baseball. I was like 7, 8 years old. And then played rep all the way right through the senior in county, actually. And spent a couple years at the University of Guelph, a couple years at Durham, as you said. And then had a good swing in the IBL for about 10 years, and the natural fit for me was to get into coaching. My mom's a professional coach at figure skating. Both uncles do hockey and baseball, so it was kind of a natural fit, and absolutely love it. And the league is, as you guys know, just outstanding, and just getting better and better, and especially stuff like this, and having you guys at your park. It just something to look forward to everywhere you go.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So to backtrack there, so you had a stint. So I see here that you're a catcher, correct, for the Royals
Correct.
from 98 to 2005?
Yes, 98, 2005, and then I came back in 2010.
Okay, cool. The late
Nice.
resurgence. Yeah. So 98, 2005. So why don't we dive back to that 2003 and 2004 seasons where you guys went back to back? I saw here specifically in 2003, you had an epic 7-game battle against Brantford.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about how those 2 seasons were so special?
Well, so there were 2 totally different teams. The 2003 team, was kind of when we first, we did kind of, knocked on the door for a couple years before that, and then we finally need to get over the hump. So, we had a collection of guys that had played together for a long time, and we got Toronto was our nemesis, and we were just kind of sitting there. We were in the semis against Kitchener, and then it was Toronto against Brantford. So it was the first year I think Ricky Johnson took over, who was a former Toronto Maple Leaf, and he was coaching in Brantford. And they beat them in 7 games. So we were kind of like, thank God, we're going to breeze through this. And it was the furthest thing from a breeze, man. It was a 7-gamer, and we were up 3-1, and then we dropped 2 straight. And so I was didn't get much sleep before Game 7 because back-to-back on Friday, Saturday. And Game 7, Brantford took a lead. Sorry to get like this, but I talk baseball. It's stitching.
No. Hey, that's why we're here for it, man. We want to hear it.
So we were down 2-0 at the beginning of that game, and so you could just see, like, it was just like, oh my God, like this is actually going to happen. And then they started chirping as they were pitching at our player coach Hinton, and we came to like Coors Light. We had a brawl, like bench clearing.
In Game 7?
Game 7.
Yes! This is what we want to hear, Tebow.
Yeah, we ripped off 8 straight runs and ended up beating them 8-2.
No
that's
way.
awesome.
That is
That's
an
awesome.
IBL classic.
Eight.
Wow.
Yeah, the best part of that was I was flying out to Vegas the next morning at 6 a.m. So I partied all night and then hit the plane and went up to Vegas. So I had a week-long celebration to myself down in Vegas.
So
that's awesome.
So Tebow, was that like you seemed like you were probably pretty confident going into Game 7? You already bought your celebration ticket to Vegas, eh?
Well, not really. Like, I had to push it back because we had the tickets. That was the year of the blackouts. So everything got pushed back like I think 12 days. So I had my tickets booked for like after the season would end on a Game 7, and I had it booked in like July.
Right.
So when everything got messed, like my plans got messed, I had to rebook. And thank God there wasn't a rain out because I would have had to bang the whole trip. But no, it was it was definitely fun. And there was 3 other guys that went with me that were on our team. So it was basically like a celebration down in Vegas.
Wow.
That must have been a really tough plane ride after partying all night.
It was, but we just won, right? And so like I was still like just absolutely flying high, and we just kept her going on the plane right to the pad. That next day was a little bit rough and patchy, but unreal.
Wow. So I
awesome.
guess the off season, obviously must have been a little shortened from partying so hard and obviously going to Game 7 in 2003. But you guys were able to repeat in 2004.
Yeah. So we had basically we had a lot of turnover that year from 2003 2004, and we had some former pro guys. I don't know if you know him, Jamie Pogue. He was a pro guy with St. Louis. I think he's still doing their bullpen catching, but he's got. So he had come back looking to catch on pro, but he couldn't. So he was with our team. He ended up winning MVP that year. And then we got some good strong arms from the States that really carried us through a rough patch. So we had a rough patch. I think we finished 500 that year, finished 5th. But then we absolutely steamrolled through the playoffs that year.
That's awesome. So now, guys, fast forward and head to 2010. What prompted you to strap back on the pads after a 5-year hiatus?
Oh, I didn't
decade on the shelf.
I did not want to. I was coaching the junior team. I was coaching our junior team, and Hinton, who was coaching the senior team, said, "I need you." And I was like, "Dude, it's been like 4 years since I've even really caught it. I've just been coaching." And he said, "Like, there's nothing else. You're gonna have to help me out." And so I went and did. I was catching a few games. I could feel that I hadn't done it in a while. And then I went to go break up a double play and pop my quad. So that was the end of her.
Do you guys find that you pull a lot of players out of that junior kind of organization over there at Guelph?
We used to. It used to be almost exclusive. Like we used to have, even more so in Toronto, more local guys than any other team. Like those 2003, 2014s, there was like 15 or 16 Guelph guys on those teams.
Wow.
So we had a really, really good system. As soon as the elite programs came in, everyone's kind of going everywhere. The whole midget and junior, and they got rid of juvenile. All those programs just went by the wayside. So now the junior, I don't even know what the junior loop's like. You get the odd player from it, but you're recruiting like anybody else now, like any of the other elite teams, just trying to go all over the place, trying to fill your 25.
Right.
Yeah. Well, like Welland held camps out west apparently to find players to bring in. So
Yeah.
Is that something that's common to a lot of teams, dueling camps in various provinces?
Yeah, it's ingenious, especially to keep it in somewhat domestically. The last couple of years before this year, the owner Fuller and I, we went down Dominican to get that's where we held like 2-day kind of camps. And so I just, basically scout these guys to see what we needed. And then we'd offer them spots back here because we were only allowed like 5 imports at the time. So
right. Unless you're Barry or Kitchener.
What's that?
Unless you're Barry or Kitchener.
Yeah, sometimes.
So how would that work? Like, would you guys actually just like book a couple plane tickets, go down, set up a kind of tryout, and just have open tryout for people down in the Dominican, and just?
To an extent, like that's basically what we did. But I've got some connections down there, so you need to have the right connections down there to be able to get in touch with all these guys that will come out, and then you have to have a connection to a park, and it's like it's not the safest place in the world. It's not like your regular resort that you go to, right? Once you go off the beaten path, like it's I'm never too worried about trying to take care of myself, but some people don't really like venturing off. But the safety is a concern, and so we had to make sure that everything was kind of on the up and up. And I'd look at maybe 30 guys and see what their former pedigrees were, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. And
Oh wow.
yeah, exactly. So that's interesting to learn because we've always been curious on how the import system really works. And so you mentioned obviously only 5 players allowed per team. So do you find that Guelph, do you guys try to maximize that, or do you just kind of basically mainly rely on domestic guys, and if an import shows interest, then
Well, here's the thing: you need a steady core of good domestic.
Hold on one second, guys. I'll be back in a second.
Yeah, no, keep to it.
You're not gonna win. You're not gonna win too many games if you don't have a healthy domestic, base for your team. It's just not gonna happen because you can only have so few imports. Right. But you do need to make sure that your import, you make sure you try to get the best imports in the league because they are important, right? And so you always want to get a good arm. And a lot of those guys throw all year round, So the pitching is usually the best thing to come out of there. That and middle infielders. But we managed to get Angel, who was our third baseman, who just absolutely murders baseballs. And he was ahead of the Panda, big Magic Panda or whatever in San Fran.
Oh, you're talking about Pablo Sandoval.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he was ahead of him when they were in the Giants system together. Kind of looks like him too.
Right. Yeah. No, he does look very similar. Yeah. We've given that guy hell from the sidelines, but
He's the absolute sweetest guy you'll ever run into.
I know he seems like a gentle giant, but
yeah.
But so I wanted to actually touch on you won Manager of the Year in 2012.
Yep.
And just in looking back at obviously you're the last 2 times to win with Guelph in 2003, 2004, but you guys didn't win that year, but you still got Manager of the Year. So I'm curious, was that due to maybe a dust up in the playoffs that you partook in? Or how'd you get that nod?
Well, those are 2 different. The dust up in the playoffs and the Manager of the Year are 2 separate years.
Okay, right.
Oh, okay, all right.
I'll talk to both of them if you want.
Dive away.
The 2012, the Guelph team had disbanded in 2011, so it wasn't playing in the league that year, and then I took over in 2012. So I think as long as I won more than 1 game, they were probably going to give it to me. I didn't do anything special to really deserve it, but I had a great group of guys, and they were kind of a bunch of some castaway kind of older senior guys that nobody really look at, and I love those guys on my team. Guys that just are like lunch pail guys that come and teach and will do anything for a run or whatever. And they played my brand of baseball. They love breaking up. This is when you could break up double plays and could run through guys. And my guys were really, really tough. And I always said I want the other team to look and go, oh shit, Guelph's here. So
nice.
And we had that kind of a team. So those guys played so well, and they were the main reason that they did give me that. The dust up was in 2015. I don't know what you want to know.
Yes,
that.
I want to know it all.
We want to know everything.
We had a quick chat.
Give us the play-by-play.
I'll give you some background. So, like I said, we had a quick chat with Riley last Sunday, and so his kind of explanation on how this all ensued was, I guess you and the third base coach for who you guys play, London. You were playing London. You were both kind of speaking some words back and forth, and basically the inning had ended, and Riley picked up his glove, and the next thing he knew, he looked over and he saw the third base coach on the ground. Why don't you kind of fill in the gaps for us, if you will?
So it was a whole thing, a culmination of a bunch of things, but I've been vocal about it before. I've never liked London's brand of baseball. I don't like the way they play. They get lippy, they get whatever, but it's like European hockey, right? If you don't have to fight, they can do whatever you want. And so I had enough. And, they were bunting up 10-2, and it was like 7th inning.
Oh.
And so I had told him, all I said was, someone's going to get hurt. Like, you keep doing, someone's going to get hurt. And so he told me what he thought of me and whatever. And then, so I started screaming at my guys to basically show a little bit of pride, when they were coming in. Right. He thought I was talking to him. And so I basically, told him what I would do if he had another word to say. And he said, why don't you cross the line like a man? I don't think he got the N out, and I was over there. And, unfortunately, there's winners and losers to every fight. He was out for the season, and I got a suspension. So.
Oh, that's all right.
Whatever, man. The commissioner appreciated the quality of that fight. So
and the thing is, the Kastner, they said you hit him 6 or 7 times. This is what I got in trouble for. 6 or 7 times. He was sleeping after the first one. My second one hogged air, and I fell on top of him. Nice. And I haven't needed to hit anybody 6 or 7 times in my life. If I did, I'd just quit.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Well, maybe because Riley didn't quite get into it, he alluded to it. But those Ottawa bus trips, like what's a good story from the Fat Cat trips?
Yeah.
Oh man, I got so many of those stories. Like, so that was it was basically be a pro for 3 days. You got to be a professional baseball player for 3 days because the hotel is right on site at the stadium, and like you go in, it's first class treatment. You get fed before the game, fed after the game, beers. You're living in a AAA locker room.
Wow.
You know, so it's just
Nice.
outstanding. I did a lot better outside of the diamond than I did inside the diamond on those trips. I didn't have much of a winning record stadium, but we did all right at the Hard Crown and stuff downtown Ottawa.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Riley told us that the Fat Cats probably had the best home record of any team in the league.
Ever.
Because
72 Dolphins, nothing. The Fat Cats from the 2010s or whatever, it was just a debacle. Like you knew it was gonna be a debacle.
I love it. So backtracking a bit, actually, I wanted to comment on this guy. We put up a video of probably the most epic clips from the IBL. It didn't turn out too well on our feed here, but it was when Delfino pimped a home run on our boy Spalargic, and he's just chasing him around the mound, yipping in his ear. And so what I want to know from you is just doing a quick look on Spalargic. So, you know, he had a pro career, and he basically came back and within a year transitioned right into the IBL. So what was your experience like? You know, you obviously played against him in the early part of those years, and then looks like you probably coached against him. So what kind of heat was he bringing, you know, coming fresh from the big show?
So he was a lefty specialist in the bigs. So he'd come out of the bullpen, he'd face lefties. So he was absolutely devastating on left-handers. I was a middle of the pack hitter. I'm not saying I was anything big, but I had great success hitting his ball. He was a right-handed hitter, and he kind of came over the top, but he challenged you. Like you knew what he was just going to throw a ton of fastballs and just try and beat you that way, which I always respected. But he was like he could spot a dime anywhere, and lefties like I would just be pulling. I said, you got to pull your ball, Derek, before the game if you're a left-handed hitter. I ain't hitting today. He was nasty. But he was competitive. And that one with Delfino, he's a friend of mine. That was pretty hype. I was watching it on TV. It was awesome.
Go ahead, El.
I was gonna say, if he's that tough on lefties, what was that pitch? Like a big wipeout slider, or?
Yeah, big time. Yeah. A bit like it was like a hard right slide, like bang, boom, like flick the blinker on and gone.
Could you tell? Could you tell the difference, like as a hitter, when somebody was coming out of the big show, or just somebody coming out of college? Just the ability to hit the spots and to make those sliders and the fastballs. Could you tell? Like, was there a big difference back then?
For sure. For sure. Kitchener had a guy named Scott Medman. He was in the Pirate system. I actually had the old Jose Canseco Panini sticker book, like in 1989. Medman is a future star in it. One of the Pirate stars.
Sticker.
Yeah, from
sticker
Buffalo.
book.
He was a righty, and he had a devastating slider too. And so when I first came out, I was like 19, 20. I had to face him, and they said, "Look, kid, if the ball looks like it's gonna big in the hip, just stay in there and hit the ball right field because it's gonna bust out there that quick."
Wow.
So I was like, "What the hell's a slider? You mean like a swerve?" Like I had no clue. Yeah. So he was like, with guys like that and guys that come back from pro, like you can really tell that they are just a polished baseball player. College is a little bit different. Like even if they got guys that are from college that throw like mid-90s, this league is so different in that people kind of underestimate the experience. So even a guy like Topley, somebody might come back from college and go, "Oh, I'm going to dust this guy in 3 straight." Next thing you know, the ball's in the right center gap because Topley, this is smart enough to be able to read these guys. And college guys just don't get that.
Right,
right. Because you do well in college doesn't mean you're going to do well here.
Yeah.
Well,
that right center gap poke is only going to result in a single. Tops.
well, that's actually a good segue there, Tebo. So, given you got your Royal sweater on, it looks like you got one of our Leafs hats on. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience with Toronto?
Yeah.
So in 2013, You know, it was after the 2012 year, had a great year, and then some of the guys had left, and I was kind of doing some other coaching stuff with an elite team, but Guelph had no coach. And so I was like, this can't fold again, like after 1 year. So I said, I'll come back and do what I can. Well, me and the management didn't get along. We had our own issues. I'm sure I was just as much to blame. And I got into a melee with one of our pitchers, and I'm sure I was just as much to blame. So I ended up getting fired. So I got fired from that year, and I was like, whatever, I'm just going to focus on the elite team. Well, Tops called me and said, hey, we got a real good team. I'm having a tough time controlling some of these guys, and like discipline's my forte.
All right.
I said, absolutely, man. So I was Tops kind of right-hand man. I coached third, and just whatever he wanted to do. And I said, you have the ability to go play now, and I'll take care of all the discipline issues. And my God, man, I would have had less issues with like a 14-year-old girls team than I would have with that squad.
Wow.
They're a great bunch of dudes, but holy cow, man, they could whine every now and then. So.
Right. Yeah. So I was going to ask you to elaborate on it. Was it too much of the partying, or was it too much of being millennials and bitching about everything?
It was just kind of a divide. There's almost a divide because you had some of the older guys want to do things their way, and then you had the young guys want to do things their way, and then you get some guys that have a stick, up the rear end about Tops for whatever reason. But Tops is I've never had a problem with Tops. I've known him, for over 20 years.
Yeah.
He's a golden baseball dude to me. So you had that kind of mix of guys that were just kind of arguing stuff. And I was like, if you don't want to be here, you don't have to be here. And you had a lot of guys that kind of got a little bit selfish. And I had to bring even a guy like Waltonberry down a couple pegs, at a time. I love Wally, but, he kind of pulled a misty one day, and I had to bench him, which, I didn't want to do. And then I had 20 missed calls from Jack. And, he lost his mind. You want to be fired for the second time this year?
up in his ivory tower above the home base.
Do you think it had something to do with maybe being in Toronto, getting a lot of guys with big egos compared to coaching on, Guelph?
Yeah, it could be. A lot of these Toronto guys were the main guy on their High Park team or their whatever team when they started coming here, and then they go to college and do whatever. You do get some personalities, but right. I think it kind of starts at the top. And if you eliminate, any of the egos and get them to check them at the door, I've always found that to be the biggest thing. If you let it kind of germinate through the season, then guys will start doing their own thing. I like guys having their own, free to do whatever they want, and kind of dress how they want. The only thing I don't allow is earrings, but I want them to have some freedom to do whatever. And if you start letting guys do that all the time, then the inmates start running the asylum, and it's hard to get them back.
Yeah. Just a question here: what is the no earring policy all about?
Okay, I can go into this. So so first off, my 90-year-old grandmother never got her ears pierced. She's the biggest dude I know, so she's not. When she gets her ears pierced, anybody can get them done.
Nice. I like it.
The 1A part of it is you're not supposed to have them in baseball. They're technically illegal. You're not allowed to have anything shiny, and they could be damaged if they ever caught. Right. And lastly, girls, it's a boys' game, and girls wear earrings. So, I'm not moving on. I let guys wear their hair anyway now. I let guys wear their beards anyway now, pants, whatever. But I'm not moving on earrings.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Well, speaking of just like great physical appearances, you have a bit of an issue with your profile page there on the IBL, Tebo. You're looking a little bit worse for wear. You have like the deepest V-neck going on. It looks like you crushed about 28 whiskeys the night before.
So that the second part guaranteed. And I took that picture 30 seconds after I just threw 2 rounds of batting practice.
Oh my God!
I'm like, can I get a shower or something first? No. It looks like I'm on a 4-day bender.
Which we cannot confirm or deny on this podcast.
I confirm it, but I know I was looking like the worst for wear because of 2 rounds of BP.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, this has been great. Well, I want to know too, obviously obviously this year, we'll see, there's 5 teams who've now said, if we are able to do a shortened season, it's something that we're willing to participate on. And I know at the end of last season, you stepped away from Guelph, I believe. So do you still do you still want to be in the league? Do you still want to coach? Are you focusing more on the elite stuff? What's in your books right now?
So I still do, I still talk to Fuller. I was talking to him quite a bit up until all this stuff went down.
Right.
I'm just doing more some advisory stuff, and
Okay.
because he's been in the league for 2 years now, and he's pretty good in that he'll ask me what I think, and he'll either say great idea and work with it, or I don't really like it and then move on. But he always bounces stuff off me, so I said, please feel free to bounce anything off. I've still got a lot of kids I used to coach that are at college right now that I can help them with recruiting. But the main reason I stepped away is I've got 2 boys playing rep baseball.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Nice.
and my youngest, who is, he's a beauty, but he needs to just kind of stay on a straight and narrow. So I said, why don't I go back and I'll do some player development, but I'll work with his team. So, and the kid just loves baseball as much as I did. And I hated going to watch their tournament games and having to leave early, to drive to like London or something like that, and then miss him, like, oh, you got a player of the game or something. I was like, this just doesn't feel right.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I've kind of had my time in the game, and my kids are still like we don't want you around here. We want you to coach. They think it's like the big leagues. So like, how are we going to get to go to these games anymore? But I'm sitting there going, no, I want to kind of watch you play, man. Like that's kind of what I want to do. But so I've never officially closed the door on it. Like once they get older and whatever, I'd love to come back. But for right now, I think being a good father and just being able to go watch them play, it brings me just as much joy as anything. So that's kind of where my head's at right now.
Nice.
Awesome.
And maybe a couple of Sunday trips to the Christie Pits, and maybe we'll see in the bush.
Yes.
I will bring a case of Bush.
Yes.
This is going to be yours, so I'll bring this for you guys.
Yes.
I'll bring that to you guys. I'll sit and hang. I'll wear the Toronto hat. And no, I'll be up for a couple Sundays for sure.
Perfect.
We heard from Riley a little hot take that apparently Jack has a garage full of old vintage Leaf gear. Did you ever get to see this mystery garage?
No, but I see the 2 armed guards outside the garage that are. I went to Jack's house one time. I sat with him for about an hour, just kind of shooting the breeze with him. And I never even asked to go into the garage, but from all accounts, there's a nice little Hall of Fame in there of some old stuff, bats, jerseys, whatever. But those baby blues were deadly back in the day, man.
Oh, man.
Tell us about it. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we're kind of running a little bit late on time, but I thought I'd ask the boys, like, did you guys have anything else you wanted to ask the man, the legend, Coach Tebo?
Yeah, I like going back to what you said about the college kids and such. Like, is there any team specifically you think that's got like a better edge at bringing in American college students? Like with us, it's Takamatsu, Santos, Ryan Johnston. Like for us on our end, that seems like a pretty good haul. But for other teams,
sure.
like,
but those guys are all Toronto kids, right?
Yeah.
So, a guy like Tops has been around those kids probably since they were like 7 years old. He's seen them doing whatever. So he's got that kind of open relationship. We've got we had some guys that went through college that come back and play here. When I was with Kitchener for a few years, we had all those kids that were from that area. So it's kind of it's more geographical than anything, because those kids, they come home and they're trying to have jobs and they want to stay somewhat close to home. It's pretty hard for me to go recruit a kid from Oshawa to playing Guelph, when he's got to go back to college or whatever. So you have to keep it somewhat geographical because they don't want to travel too far.
Right. Cool. Good stuff. Well, we're kind of up against the clock, but Teebs, man, like really definitely appreciate you coming out on this. And yeah, we'd love to have you on, on next episode. And like I said, we're going to be interviewing Tops next Sunday. So if you have any quick sort of top mentions or stories we should bring up with them, like we got about a couple minutes left here, but if you got anything in the bank, let us know.
Any good top stories? You know what? I don't really have any good top stories other than he will deny this, I guarantee. But we were having a game. We had a game against them. We had a brawl, a full-on brawl against them. Yeah. And I love Tops, but I ran through a stop sign coming around third to try and hit him, and he gave me the Olay. And he just tagged me.
Oh, you went right by.
I'm like, you coward. And I guarantee he'll deny it. But he totally olayed me. It's just like a bull laying on my face on the plate after he tagged me.
That is cool.
That's great.
Even has a little red
Totally.
red
It was like-
blanket.
Don't deny it. It was a smart move, Tops, because you would have landed in the dugout.
Oh, I love it. I
Oh,
love
that's
it.
great.
Well, we'll be sure that you sent forth that chirp, and we'll see if we get the truth.
Yeah, I've got nothing but love for Tops, man. He's one of my
For
guys.
sure.
So
For sure. Well, on that note, again, Tebo, man, definitely it's been a pleasure catching up with you. Good to finally meet.
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you
what,
so much.
We'll do this again, man, and I hope you and your family stay well, and we'll catch up with you down the line. All right,
you
brother?
too. Thanks for everything that you guys do, man. You guys are awesome.
All
Oh
right, I
man,
love it.
thank you. It's
I
it's
love
because
it.
of the good baseball. We got hooked on the good baseball first, and then it just led to all the mayhem that ensued after that.
And savagely chirping any pitcher you decide to bring to the mound.
And you guys taught me about Chadwick.
Yes, Henry
Yeah, that's
Chadwick.
No, yes.
That has got to become a part of baseball lexicon. The Chadwick, the third K for Hank.
Absolutely.
We're
I
here-
read the whole story. It's like, boom, they taught me about Chadwick. That's awesome.
Dude, you know what?
So good.
We're not here just heckling. We're here to educate the masses, right? On that note, everyone stay well. Thanks for coming out, Teebs. And
Thank you
we'll
so
catch you around the
much.
line, boys.
Thank you
Cheers,
so
fellas.
much, Coach.
Cheers,
Cheers.